the big ideas and the challenging ones. They all take work, passion, perseverance, and the determination to make them better than the ones before. Everything we've ever done is nothing compared to what we imagine for the future. Honda, the power of dreams.
November 17, 1906, was just another day for many people in Japan. At the same time, Soichiro Honda was born, and he would go on to make numerous positive contributions to society. He was born to a weaver mother and a blacksmith father who owned a bicycle repair shop. Honda's family was extremely poor. 5 of his siblings died in infancy from poor health. However, as he grew older, Honda had a strong interest in tools and machinery. He became fascinated with automobiles after seeing his first, a Ford Model T, in his childhood. He ran after it because of how beautiful it was. He will always remember that moment and the aroma of the oil. In all of Japan, bicycles were becoming quite popular at this point, and customers began gathering in front of his father's repair shop. The young Honda spent a lot of time observing his father perform repairs before attempting them himself. Honda even mastered the art of creating his own toys out of whatever was lying around. After a few years, Honda began routinely assisting his father in the repair shop. But when it came to academics, Honda struggled in school since he was not interested in what his teachers were teaching and preferred to be back in his father's business. His lack of enthusiasm in school affected his GPA. The students were given grade reports to go home and show their parents, who would then seal the report card with their family seal to verify that they had seen it. Honda decided to make a family seal out of a leftover piece of rubber bicycle pedal cover so that his instructor would believe his parents had stamped it, since he did not want his parents to know he was struggling and disappointed them. It was effective. In fact, it worked so well that other students in his class approached him to ask if he could also make family seals for them, so they would not have to show their parents their report cards because they were terrified of displaying their bad marks to them. However, when Honda was eventually discovered, his father was upset with his work, rather than the fact that he had committed the crime. Despite having no formal schooling, Honda was honing his abilities at his father's workshop and had a true interest in engineering and machines. Honda then learned that a pilot by the name of Art Smith would be showing off the biplane's aerobatic ability when he was just 11 years old in 1917. Consequently, he made the decision to steal some cash from the petty cash box, borrowed a bicycle from his father's business, and cycled 20 kilometers to the military base to see the performance. When he arrived, he discovered that he did not actually have enough cash to pay the entry price, so he made the decision to climb up a tree to view the show. Honda thought it was amazing, which only fueled his passion for technology and creation. But when he got back home, his dad knew what had transpired. Fortunately, Honda's dad was far more impressed by his son's drive and initiative than he was upset. He may have let the event go because, in his heart of hearts, he was maybe glad that his kid shared his enthusiasm for engineering. After completing his education, Honda came across an advertisement for Art Shokai, an automobile maintenance business, in a newspaper in 1922. The article stated, "A helper is required for an auto repair shop in Tokyo." If the business could afford to run advertisements like this, he reasoned, then they could have openings for apprenticeships for young men like him who were interested in learning the craft. So, at the young age of 15, he made the decision to leave home in quest of employment and travel to Tokyo. It was an emotional experience leaving his quiet town and entering the busy streets of Tokyo. He was able to secure an apprenticeship at the Art Shokai garage, nevertheless, proving that his intuition had been accurate. Unfortunately, on his first day of work, he was assigned to clear up, scrub the grimy floors, and make meals for the owner. In reality, he frequently found himself caring for the owner's child instead of the intended audience. Additionally, apprentices at the time were not paid, so all he was given was a little area to relax in and some food to eat. However, soon after they started working together, Tokyo was struck by a major earthquake, forcing many of the mechanics to take time off to fix their houses. Honda eventually had his opportunity when he was requested to step in as a technician because the vehicle repair firm was currently short-handed. This post was eventually made permanent via relentless effort. When motorcycles and vehicles were exclusively available to the higher class at the time, Honda, who was eager to learn, spent his days fixing them. Here, Honda experienced a huge variety of automobiles from many different manufacturers, which helped him to further his understanding. Honda always examined each automobile sent to him for repair with great care, and during his breaks from work, he read whatever automotive periodicals he could get his hands on. Honda quickly expanded its capabilities beyond auto maintenance to include the creation of replacement parts. Due to Honda's excellent work for the firm, one of the proprietors by the name of Yuzo decided to teach Honda both the technical and business aspects of the profession. Honda found Yuzo to be the ideal mentor, and it was he who first exposed Honda to the world of motorsports. Apparently, Yuzo sought Honda for assistance in developing his own race vehicle in 1923, after making the decision to start doing so. Their second concept, the Curtiss, was ultimately the winner of the 1924 Japanese Motorcar Championship. Honda was on board as the supporting engineer, and this success at such a young age, both winning the race and the excitement of contributing to the creation of such a vehicle, was a feeling he would never forget, and a sensation he would keep pursuing. Honda was drafted at the age of 20 to complete his military service requirements. However, it was discovered that he was colorblind during the medical check, and he was released from his duties. Following this, in 1928, his mentor, the head of Art Shokai, offered him a chance, saying he wanted Honda to open his own Art Shokai location in Hamamatsu, a Japanese city relatively near to the hamlet where Honda was born. Being in charge of his own car repair company was a lot of responsibility for Honda, who was still in his early 20s, but he willingly accepted it because he had obviously pleased his supervisors. Honda's branch first expanded gradually. When customers first started bringing their cars in for repairs, some were turned off by how young he seemed and assumed he was unskilled. At first, it was just him running the business alone. However, he finally succeeded in establishing a solid reputation in the region, and by the middle of the 1930s, he had managed to assemble a full staff to assist him. At long last, Honda was financially successful. He had worked his way up from being an unpaid apprentice, caring for his boss's infant, to owning and operating a prosperous auto repair business. Furthermore, Honda was not ashamed to enjoy himself as a wealthy young guy. There are several stories of him having a good time with a lot of geisha, holding parties, and even dancing naked at his wedding. While working hard, Honda partied even harder. On occasion, though, his drunken evenings did not turn out so well. In one instance, he unintentionally knocked a geisha from the second floor of a window. Fortunately, she was able to live by landing on some wires. However, they apparently had to break the electrical cables in order to save the woman, which caused a power outage for the entire town. When Honda was involved in a terrible vehicle accident in 1936, while competing in the Japanese high-speed rally, he was forced to give up racing forever. However, Honda continued to enjoy racing, and that too would almost result in a fatal catastrophe. The doctors said he was lucky to survive at all after spending 3 months in the hospital and having a permanent scar for the rest of his life. The incident served as a warning for Honda. After finding himself suddenly wealthy, he adopted a bit of a playboy daredevil lifestyle, but repeated close calls forced him to rethink what he truly desired. He recognized that, despite the success of his vehicle repair business, he was not happy with the quality of the automotive repair. The time had come for a brand new, more difficult task. Honda, which saw great potential in manufacturing, asked Art Shokai if he could transform the vehicle repair business he was managing for them into a separate business, where he would make piston rings. Sadly, Art Shokai did not like the idea at all. The company was profitable and doing well. They had no interest in stopping that, and moving into a completely different industry, especially since manufacturing their own car parts rather than repairing them seemed to carry much greater risk and expense. Honda, on the other hand, was adamant about following through on his new vision, so he and a buddy made the decision to start their own independent company, Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry, together. At first, Honda would continue to work during the day at his repair business, and then at night, he would try to make piston rings at the new auto part manufacturing firm he had founded. He did not get much sleep because it was exhausting to attempt to accomplish both. He studied metals and alloys in evening classes and worked relentlessly for 2 years to advance his knowledge. In 1939, he made a groundbreaking development in piston design. At that moment, he handed over his responsibilities at Art Shokai to his apprentices and started putting all of his attention into his new manufacturing business. When they started making pistons, Honda experienced genuine elation for the first time in a while. The thrill, however, was fleeting as they were quickly deluged with production difficulties. As an illustration, they once received an order from Toyota, but only 3 of the thousands of pistons that Toyota had Honda's business produce for them met Toyota's strict quality requirements. It was a significant setback, but Honda made the decision to go to colleges and companies around Japan in order to deepen his understanding of the production process and his skill set. He eventually accumulated the necessary expertise and understanding to be able to create piston rings that met Toyota's quality requirements. And even better, Honda discovered a technique to automate the production process so that even untrained employees could mass produce them. This allowed him to create them in large quantities at a reasonable price. The number of orders skyrocketed, and when Honda's workshop could not keep up, he established a factory to create the piston rings in bulk. Sadly, Japan was preparing for war at the same time that Honda's manufacturing company was really taking off. Many of Honda's male workers were drafted into the armed forces in 1941, which left many open positions in the company's facility. Due to supply limitations brought on by the war, Honda had a hard time finding supplies. Due to his lack of resources, Honda instructed his staff to search for gasoline cans that were dropped from the sky by enemy aircraft. These cans may still be utilized for manufacture. In 1944, it was starting to seem likely that Japan would lose the conflict. A bomb was thrown on one of Honda's plants, and it appeared as though he may lose his clientele. Another bitter irony was that Honda's second facility would be devastated by an earthquake only a year later. The fact that all he had spent years creating had been reduced to nothing but ruins was soul-crushing. The war had already caused the firm to struggle greatly, but now it was too late. Honda was going out of business. As a result, Honda sold Toyota what little of a manufacturing company it still had. After the war, there was severe fuel scarcity, and the majority of vehicles used for mobility were bicycles. People required an inexpensive, simple, and highly fuel-efficient means to travel about. Honda came up with an idea and fitted his bike with a little motor, which quickly attracted the attention of people around the city. In 1946, Honda founded the Honda Technical Research Institute with the money he had left over after selling his piston ring manufacturing company, because he felt it may be an effective way to address the issues facing his nation at the time. Finding the ideal manufacturing process for motorcycles was the only goal of this. Honda was able to successfully construct functional motorcycles that became an instant hit in Japan, using some surplus military engines he had managed to get. As soon as he ran out of old engines due to a sudden influx of requests, Honda created his own engine. Honda required additional money to invest in production, nevertheless, in order to be able to mass produce enough motorcycles to meet demand. Sadly, investment was not readily accessible in the depressing economic climate that followed the war. But Honda, as always, found a solution. According to reports, he addressed letters to 18,000 proprietors of bicycle shops around the nation outlining his proposal and pleading with them to support his new motorcycle model. 3,000 of those proprietors of bicycle shops responded in writing, pledging to buy Honda motorcycles. Honda had therefore resumed operations. Honda Motors Co. was established in 1948 to produce small-capacity motorbikes with the intention of creating an accessible motorcycle that would make it easier for Japanese people to go around. Takeo Fujisawa, a business partner that Honda also partnered up with, not only supplied the firm with more funding, but also served as a strong business operator and strategist, giving Honda more time to focus on the product side of the business. The D-Type, which stood for Dream and was Honda's first full-fledged motorcycle, was a touch too big and heavy, but it had a lot of good features. The lighter, smaller, and safer Super Cub model from Honda, however, was quickly a commercial success. Orders flooded in from all around the nation as a result of its early success. After then, Honda concentrated on accessing the American market. Prior to the 1960s, however, the stereotype of the American biker was one of a rude, rebellious, and unsavory man. Therefore, in an effort to remedy this, Honda launched a highly effective marketing campaign with the tagline, "You meet the nicest people riding a Honda." This encouraged families and younger people to separate the motorcycle from old preconceptions, and along with the more lightweight design, let manufacturers reach a whole new market with their motorcycles. As a result, Honda motorbikes made up about 1 in every 2 motorcycles sold in the U.S. in 1964, and soon enough, tiny, light motorbikes were whizzing over American roadways. Honda also produced roughly 1 million motorcycles each month by the end of the 1960s, making it the largest motorbike manufacturer in the world. Honda continues to be the biggest manufacturer of motorcycles today. A racing victory for Honda was added to its financial triumph. Honda Motors, the team with the highest points at the end of the season, won the Constructors' Championships in all 5 motorcycle classes in the Grand Prix in 1966. The majority of the major racing championships had already been won by Honda motorcycles at this stage. Despite the overwhelming success of Honda motorcycles on all fronts, Soichiro Honda had one more unrealized desire. Finally, his largest and most challenging undertaking to date could begin. Honda has always wanted to build his own vehicle ever since he first saw one as a youngster, and because of his own modest upbringing, he particularly enjoyed the concept of creating a cheap, excellent automobile that practically anybody could buy. Nevertheless, practically everyone advised Honda to continue developing motorcycles since there was so much more competition in the vehicle sector now that he had achieved success with it, particularly in America, where large automobile companies dominated. But Honda had always been a risk-taker, and when he felt he had mastered using 2 wheels, he was prepared to use 4. The T360 compact truck, which went on sale in 1963, was really Honda Motor Co.'s first effort at a car, but it was not well received and never did well in sales. However, Honda always had to come up with a fresh strategy after suffering a setback like this. Now, in the early 1970s, there was a developing environmental movement with increased worry about pollution and air quality. Due to this, U.S. cities implemented the Clean Air Act, which required stronger automobile controls. The major automakers all filed appeals right away, claiming the new regulations were impractical. Honda, on the other hand, simply said, "I will find a way," and then set out to create a new, groundbreaking engine that would pass the new pollution tests. Called the Compound Vortex Controlled Combustion Engine, it was not only more environmentally friendly, but also enabled people to travel further while using less fuel. Honda had been acting and coming up with a solution, while the dominant forces in the American auto industry were attempting to get the laws eliminated. Honda would subsequently say, "When Congress approves new pollution rules, we hire 50 more engineers and GM hires 50 more attorneys." He created the Honda Civic in 1972, which would be the first vehicle to utilize this brand new CVCC engine. The ideal response to the 1973 oil crisis, which saw skyrocketing petrol costs, was this energy-efficient, small, and lightweight passenger automobile. The Honda Civic was the ideal vehicle at the ideal moment since it used little fuel, produced few pollutants, and was dependable. and the Honda Civic would quickly rise to the top of the automotive industry in terms of popularity. Honda Motors unveiled the Accord when Civic sales surpassed 1 million units. The more upmarket variant was created with middle-class drivers searching for superb design at an affordable price in mind. By word of mouth alone, Honda began to gain a reputation for dependability. Sales had been rising, and Honda became recognized as one of the top automakers. When the Accord proved to be successful, Honda confidently entered the luxury automobile market as well by launching the Acura brand in America in 1986, which also saw significant sales growth in both the US and Japan. Honda now had a variety of products available for various customers, kinds, all of which were doing well in the market. Honda became the third largest automaker in the world at the end of the 1980s as a result. Soichiro Honda struggled with liver failure till he eventually passed away in 1991 from the illness. His estimated net worth at the time of his death was $92 million. He has registered approximately 150 distinct patents for various technologies in total. None of his 3 sons succeeded him in running the business. Honda and his business partner believed in meritocracy rather than nepotism, and that highly trained people should manage a firm rather than incompetent family members. Despite the devastating death of its founder, Honda Motors continued to dominate the American market with thorough reorganizations, superior car designs, and creative marketing strategies. Honda Motors is one of the top automotive companies in the world today, and it has since expanded into a wide range of new goods, including robots and aircraft. It is astonishing to think of how Honda's life began so hopelessly, with only a basic curiosity and a passion for working with tools and machinery. Honda, on the other hand, was adamant about getting what he wanted. When things did not go as planned, he took action and changed his methods. He recognized that consumers will purchase a greater product if it is made. And to do that, he put out a great effort. Did you enjoy this video? I hope you found the information useful. Please share with your family and friends. And like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And now, over to you.